What's going on, guys? It's Greg here. Just wanted to do a quick video about pace counting and why it's important. So basically what you see here, these are what they call ranger beads. And the way that the ranger beads work is that they help you keep track of how much distance you're traveling. It's good to know if you're into the outdoors and you like to hike. It's just good to know, your pace count and to keep track of it. It's really not rocket science. Basically, what you do is you want to take 100 yards or 100 meters, depending on whatever you prefer, and you want to walk the 100 meters, and you want to basically count every time your right foot or your left foot lands on the ground. You're going to want to count that, and you're going to want to see how many times your foot lands inside of 100 meters or 100 yards, and you're going to want to memorize that. For me, I like to round up to 60. For me, I'm 6'2", and it takes me about 60 paces to go 100 meters. Depending on the terrain and how fast I'm walking, it could either go up or down from there. But a good easy number for me to remember is 60, and it's pretty accurate. And with the ranger beads, what you do with these is if you're hiking and you want to keep track of how long you've walked in a certain direction, what you do is you have the bottom part of this, the underneath this knot here. These are your 100 meter tick. These are your 100 meters. So every time, let's say for me, every time I walk 60 steps, 60 paces, every time my foot lands on, I move one of these down. All right, and then that's 100 meters. And then if I move another one, 200, and then 300, 400. And then once I get down to all of them, I move one of these down, and then I reset this. And this is going to show me that I have one kilometer already. And then from there I can continue. I can go 100 meters, 200, and so on, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and then 1,000, and then I bring it down again, and then I'm at 2 kilometers here. And obviously, it's going to be this. It's much easier with these pace counting beads, especially if you're doing a long distance. But pace counting is good for a variety of reasons. If you want to keep track of, how long you've been walking. There's a variety of reasons why you would want to, keep track of your pace count. The thing that I can think of is that, for land navigation, if you're trying to navigate a certain area, you're going to want to keep track of how many steps you're taking, how many paces you're taking, because let's say you have to, let's say you have your compass, and you want to go around an object. Let's say there's like a lake or a pond that's in your way, and you want to bypass it. You're going to want to keep track of how many paces it took you to bypass, and then you're going to want to use those paces to backtrack once you get on the other side of the lake, so you can get back to the same general direction that you were coming from. So pace counting, it's very important for land navigation. If you want to have precise land navigation, you want to keep track of your paces. Same thing if, like, let's say you're hiking around, or if it's like an SHTF situation, you're hiking around and you find some kind of resource that's very important. If you're keeping track of your paces, you're going to be able to know how many paces it took to get to that resource, and you're going to be able to find it next time. You're going to be able to mark it on your map where it is. If you're not keeping track of your paces, then you're not going to know where you are relative to your map. So, like, if you want to mark it on your map, you're not going to know where to mark it, because you're not keeping track of how many paces you took. So it's very important for an SHTF situation, bugging out, even just hunting or hiking. You know, you definitely want to know your pace count so you can keep track of how far you're walking. And it's going to help you find, like I said, when you find some resources, you can mark it on your map. You know, let's say there's some important thing that you found. If you're a hunter, you may want to mark an area where you saw some sign. You know, if you saw like some areas where, you know, let's say if you're hunting deer, you may have seen like a rub or a scrape, and you want to mark it on your map. You know, if you're not keeping track of your paces, you're not going to know where you are relative to the map, you know, unless you use terrain association, you know, which you can also do. But paces are very important to know from a land navigation perspective. You know, it's definitely a good thing to have. You know, you can keep track of the distance you're traveling, you know, and it allows for more precise navigation. So know your pace count, and I recommend, you know, buy one of these. It's definitely a good thing to have. So take care, guys.